So this is going to be a little more of a serious topic that I'm talking about today. Um, it's something that I think I've been wanting to get off my chest for about a year now. But I held my tongue about it because it's such a hotly topical political debate, and I hate talking about politics, regardless if it's on this channel or not. Um, so I kind of refrained from talking about it. But in the events that happened in the Big Brother house this last week, I think kind of brought some light back to it, and I think it showed a good deal of hypocrisy, as well as a good deal of uh, second side to everything. More so hypocrisy, but also showed that um, this game is not as what it was a couple of years prior to this, prior to the pandemic at least. Um, and so you want to guys know what happened. One of the players. So I haven't done a Big Brother video in a while. I did the preview video and I did one in week 1 talking about Paloma's exit. And I said I would do some more during the season as things happened. Well, it had been a pretty boring season up until this point since Paloma left. There are a few things here and there, but it's pretty predictable for the most part. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. I am going to do a season review of this season at the end of the season, which will probably be more at the end of the month, or the beginning of October, depending on when it ends or how long I get around to making it. But basically, what happened over the past it starts about a couple weeks ago, when then Hannah House sold Michael's first of 2 HOHs. Kyle, one of his allies in the Leftovers, alliance that had been created, comes up to Michael and expresses concern about a possible Cookout 2.0. You don't know what the Cookout is. It was an alliance from last season, BB23, that was a 6-person alliance between all the 6 African American contestants on that season. And they banded together specifically to ensure the first black winner of Big Brother. And they ended up being very successful. They all made it to as far as they could, aka the final 6, and then they guaranteed an African American winner, which ended up being Xavier. And they're considered the greatest alliance in Big Brother history now because of their purpose and because they are the only alliance larger than just a duo. So only alliance larger than 3 or more. The only one of that to get all the way intact as far as they possibly can. If you look at it statistically, they're also, because of their purpose, is why a lot of people like them a lot and consider them such a great alliance. And I'll get to more about my thoughts of the Cookout later, because I wholeheartedly disagree when it comes to how people think the Cookout actually is. But first off, so Kyle expressed interest of it happening again, and this was at the final 11. So this was between, of course, Joseph, Monty, Taylor. Joseph, I believe, is Hispanic, and Taylor and Monty, and as well as Terrence, are all African American. Jasmine's also African American, and Indy is of, I think, Spanish descent, because she has a Spanish accent, stuff like that. They were considered, they're like the minorities of the season and that kind of thing. So he was worried that they were going to band together as a Cookout 2.0. He was worried that was happening as like a secret alliance, and that they were going to run the game. So what he proposed as a counteroffer was to get all the other people in the house, himself, Michael, Brittany, Alyssa, and Turner, I believe that's all of them, together, band them together to take them all out. So that took out the possibility of that. And you can see where the red flags pop up. You can see where the red flags pop up in that statement, in that proposal. Basically, what you're saying there is propose an all-white alliance. Safe to say it didn't go over very well, but actually it was kind of thrown under the rug for the next couple of weeks. But once the split house twist happened, and Kyle, Alyssa, Turner, and Terrence went after Joseph outside at the Dyer Fest, they came back, and that was officially at the end of the Leftovers, and they were, pitting sides against each other. And going into this week, coming out of the twist, Turner won the head of household, puts up big targets, Taylor and Brittany. And Michael is a backdoor option. He's one of the best players in the game right now, 6 comp wins at the time. But so and this is the first time that really Brittany and Michael were in trouble. They were a very powerful duo. They had been laying low, but also doing a lot of working in the game, and so they were. So they were really. This was the first time that they had really been in trouble all game. Well, Michael wins the veto, but so he's safe. He takes Brittany off. She's safe. So. And Turner thinks, okay, well, now I got to switch up my target option. Probably going to get out Taylor this week. Well, Michael and Brittany was also told about the All-White Alliance before now by Kyle and by Michael. So what they decide to do is, in order to get Kyle on the block and get him out, in order to keep everybody in their little group safe, they decide to expose that information to Turner and pretty much everybody else that was involved, everybody that didn't know about it already, bring it up to frame Kyle and get him out the block. Long story short, everybody thought it was disgusting, and Kyle even admitted it was disgusting. He tried to deny it at first, and then it eventually came out. There was a house meeting about it, and that kind of thing, and eventually Michael did take Brittany off. Kyle went up, and Kyle went home went to the jury house unanimously. Where now he's going to have to do a little bit of explaining to the other 3 jury members, Joseph, Jasmine, and Indy, about what happened. So we'll see what happens there. We haven't seen any jury segments yet this season, but we're sure going to get one probably next week, with Kyle going to the jury house and everything and all that. So, but this situation might on paper sound like a good rallying to to educate people about why this is not okay, why it's good to be racist like this, and why it's not okay to assume this. On paper, it seems like that, but actually, nobody wins in this situation. Nobody does. You got Kyle, obviously, the one who's at fault for doing this, and I think it's really horrible that he thought about that. Do I personally blame him? Yes and no. First off, Kyle we knew pretty early on Kyle had a sheltered background. Growing up I think he lives in Utah with his parents, and his parents I think are very conservative, religious, extremely religious, very conservative, and Kyle grew up in a very sheltered environment, still lives with his parents. He's 29, or at least was living with his parents before he went to the Big Brother house. So he didn't have what many others had for exposure to the problems with racism these days and everything, and how equality and stuff like that. He didn't get that. So he comes into the Big Brother house, and he's a big fan of the show, and he sees the cookout, and he's thinking, okay, can it happen again? And all paranoia takes effect as well, because he's paranoid. He's wondering if something bigger is going on. And it comes out after 50-something days locked in the house with people. So it's not the correct assumption to have, far from it, in fact, but it's not. But after last season, it's not completely out of the question that it will happen again, especially seeing the success the Cookout had. But is it right to assume that? No. And I'm going to say this: alliances based on race are not okay. Of any race, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, not okay. What Kyle proposed was racist, and the Cookout is racist too. I don't care what anybody says. The Cookout, the creation of the Cookout, and the reason it existed is the textbook definition of racism. Okay? A bias or prejudice, and this is not the funny bias, this is a real bias. Bias or prejudice for or against a certain race. In this case, it was for all the African American people in the game and people watching, and secure a winner of their race, excluding anybody else of different races, because it wasn't just white people that were on the show. Otherwise, there was Derek X, a Asian American person. Alyssa was mixed race as well. You also had people of different sexual orientations as well. Claire was bisexual. Sarah Beth was a lesbian. And none of them were included in this at all. So you get that. And then, so yes, the Cookout is extremely racist. And it pisses me off that, not because they were so successful, because they really did not, they voted, it's racist that they got for their cause. If they had just happened to get together and maybe included a few other people in the alliance and maybe done that, maybe it would have been okay. But if they're just because this is would be the same if it was an all-white alliance, like Kyle proposed, like maybe what if that happened and that worked, I think they would have gotten the same reaction out of me. And you would have gotten a much worse reaction from the media, the masses, and the reputation of the show, and in turn CBS in general, would be tainted forever. But with their Cookout, they're glorifying it. And I think that is so hypocritical. The Cookout, I stand by this. The Cookout, in my opinion, I think the Cookout may have been a little bit manufactured by CBS, mainly because we did not really see a whole lot of it being formed. It kind of just showed up they just kind of showed up one day. There was a little bit. You look a little bit deeper into it, there was a little bit of origin, but not a lot. And I think CBS kind of manufactured that together to say, hey, get together, be a great idea, empowerment movement. In turn, try and get their ratings up, especially with the last couple seasons before that, were heavily had lots of arguments based on race against lots, especially BB21, a lot of bullying, a lot of racism, all that kind of stuff. Even All Stars had it too with Christmas and a couple other people, I think, are against Davon and Bailey, and it's a horrible situation to look at. And so they were just trying to turn the tables. This is not the way to do it. I do agree with casting a more diverse, a more racially diverse cast, which they have done the last couple of seasons. I think that's good. I think the people in the Cookout Alliance were good people, and many of them were good game players. Xavier was a very deserving winner. Kyland even could have deserved to win the game. He won a lot of competitions. Tiffany, amazing strategist who just never, and even Hannah, the other girl in the Alliance, and then there was Ozza and Big D, which we don't talk about either of them. They were floaters. I mean, Tiffany and Hannah especially never really got to play the game because they were stuck with this cause. And I think it's okay to promote equality, but this was not how you do it. Not how you do it at all. And it pisses me off so much that pisses me off so much that this alliance is so praised as the greatest of all time. They're not the greatest of all time. They're completely racist. And you can argue about all you want in the comments, but it's what it is. It's the textbook definition. It's not even implied. It's not even vague. It's literally textbook definition. It's the most obvious form you can get of it in both instances. So that's where the hypocrisy comes in my opinion. And again, nobody's at, and going back to the situation with the Kyle situation specifically, nobody wins in this situation. Kyle doesn't win because he proposed the all-white alliance, which was inherently racist. And Michael and Brittany don't win either because they manipulated this and kept that information to themselves to use as a game move. When information like that is presented to you, when they're proposing an alliance based on race, which is not okay, you need to bring that up to people. You need to bring that up to the people in power, and you need to take action. And you need to Kyle should have been backdoored, evicted, either Final 11 or Final 10. Whenever, I don't know if the Final 11 eviction already happened or was already set before then, but Kyle should have been taken out of Dire. It should have been brought up so when they went to Dire Fest, he would have been targeted. And he would have gone home. And Terrence said it himself. He deeply regrets getting out Joseph instead of getting out Kyle after this information had been presented. And do I really blame him? No. I mean, I don't fully support. Terrence is pissed. Terrence has specifically brought this up at the House meeting, at least what we could see from the broadcast about the House meeting. They cut the feeds. We'll get to the feeds a little bit later because there's a whole situation about that, like production manipulating this. We'll get to that too because the production's not nearly as clean as some of these other House guests, in my opinion. But I mean, Terrence brought it up as part of the House meeting. Like, why did you hide this information? Why did you not bring it up? That's right. You don't hide that information. They manipulated it for their game, and quite frankly, I think Monty caught on it, Turner caught on it, Terrence caught on it. Now at least you want to think they're screwed. I mean, Michael's going to win out in competitions, keep them both safe at least until the Final Four. And Michael's going to win out in competitions. And he's going to win this game at this point. He's won 7 comps. No way they get him out. He's winning vetoes left and right. He's going to win 10 vetoes before the season's over. So you can't get him out. And now, because there's only one more competition where not everybody can play, so there's only one more time for a backdoor. So he plays all the rest of the vetoes after that. He wins one more comp, and he is locked to win the game, in my opinion. He's extremely smart. He's extremely physical competitor, and he's playing an amazing social game. But this social game, because he's going to take Brittany to the Final Two, and they're going to sit in the Final Two, and they're going to cite this moment as a reason why they should win the game. Michael especially is going to cite this moment as a reason. Okay, this is where I stepped up. This is where I this is where I took morality into the equation. And no bullshit, you didn't take morality into the equation. You made this a game move. This is a morality move. This is about racism. This is not about the game here, okay? This should have been brought up, and Kyle should have been out long ago. But no, you manipulated it, which fucking sucks. So that's, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth in that regard as well. So pisses me off on that point. But and then we talk about the production and the live feeds. Another thing I've been trying to do this season, which I'll take into account with my season review, is especially the last few weeks I've been trying, especially this week in general, I've been trying to watch more of the live feeds and get a little bit more perspective, because I've learned over the last few years. I was watching this Big Brother. I've been watching it for a long time, but recently, as long as I have Paramount Plus, I've been trying to watch it, and because I know that production has been more and more heavily editing the seasons to make certain players look good, and the live feeds expose them for not being good. They turn, and production will, and vice versa. They'll make some players look like the demons and the pariahs in the house, when really they're really good people. So you have to watch the live feeds, and I can't watch them 24/7 like some other people can, but I try to watch them whenever I get the opportunity. But this week especially, this happened back on Sunday. This is going to go up on a Saturday. This is going to go up on a Saturday. It happened the last recent Sunday. But basically what happened was they were cutting the live feeds like every 5 minutes. Every mention of what happened turned into a cut of the live feeds. And so people then, I was kind of worried that they weren't even going to really talk about this situation at all. As the day went on, it grew too big for them to not mention in the broadcast, especially since they merged it over 2 episodes. But that's bad. That's bad, CBS. You cut in the production. I think they were trying to paint Kyle as a good guy. I think they were trying to paint Kyle as a good guy. They did not show everything that went down. Very much. They did not show what happened. There was when Michael and the other people were up watching that movie in the HOH room, Brittany described it as total hell when they all came back, because Kyle was going crazy trying to figure out what the hell was going on. and because he wasn't up there in the watching the movie or anything, but and I think there were some more altercations that they did not talk about. I think eventually production got involved to talk to them about the situation, and you be honestly, we're not gonna know because CBS is gonna pay these players to cover up the situation through recruiting them onto other reality shows, aka like The Challenge, maybe Survivor, maybe The Amazing Race. And the longer that they stay, the more time that they have to wait before they can actually talk about this stuff. I think they have to wait at least a year if they only compete on Big Brother. But a lot of them go to The Challenge, especially. A lot of them have gone to Survivor. A lot of them have gone to The Amazing Race. A lot of them go on to other stuff. So then they have to continue. They're under contracts and continue, of course, not talk about it. So we'll see who actually opens up about this situation a little bit more when the season ends about what actually happened and how it all went down. Because again, they were cutting the live feeds like crazy, and even afterwards they just, I don't know why they keep cutting them. I don't. They switch off to stuff that doesn't matter. Like one of them, they flipped off to Terrence's butt crack. Like, why are we fucking looking at that shit? Let's like Kyle. Let's talk about him. Let's watch this important conversation, that education that Kyle is getting from Taylor and Monty about equality and stuff like that. Like, why can't we hear about that? Let's see the fights. Let's see the arguments, even if it's. And they do it specifically because they don't want to make themselves look bad. Especially after what happened in BB15, especially with the racism and the bullying, and that's when they had to start putting disclaimers they put disclaimers at their episodes. Then now they put the disclaimers at the start when you go to watch the live feeds. That they don't. Some things house guests will say that they don't condone. So you already put that disclaimer down. Why do you keep cutting the feeds? I don't know. They did that and this is not the first time that they've done that this season. This is not the first time they've done it ever. They did it with Paloma at the beginning of the season. They made Paloma look like a really good person, and they made Taylor not look like such a good person at the beginning of the game when the live feed said differently. They did that last year too, I think. I can't think of any other major examples right off the top of my head, but there are more. They've been doing this for a long, long time. Oh, and that Danielle from BB14, I think was another one that I think I can. I think she was another one that they did that too, because especially in All Stars, Janelle talked about it. They were saying how bad of a person she really was, how much she bullied like Ian and stuff like that, which is horrible. Because they realized, I mean, you watch the episodes and they paint her as like this sweet Southern girl and stuff like that. BB15, they kind of hand was kind of forced. I think they were going to try and make Erin look like the good girl. Week 2 comes along, barely even a week comes along, and you gotta stop doing that. But no, this is just a horrible situation all around, and yeah, again, nobody went. Monty said it himself. This is America. This is America. And he's not. He didn't say it in he didn't say it the way that he meant. He says it in the fact that there's still lots of racism and bias against African American people. But what he really meant to say and what it really means, how I'm saying it, is how the hypocrisy. There is racism on both ends. There is. And there will always continue to be. The human race is extremely flawed. And it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. It doesn't matter how old you are. It's going to keep happening. It's just going to keep happening. It's going to take a really long time. It's going to take longer than we have left on this earth to get it done. And that sucks. But, and we can only work to get better. So, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? But this is a horrible, hypocritical situation all around. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me when I say that the Cookout is racist, but you look at the definition of racism and you look at the Cookout's purpose, you'll say otherwise. And production. You can talk all day about how bad production can be with cutting these feeds and manipulating the game and stuff like that to make themselves look good, to make certain people look good. They want to make the food their brand. So you can do that all day, but only so much that I know as a random person on a street. I'm not on the streets, but random person watching the feeds and watching the live shows and all that stuff. So people who watch the feeds more often than I do, I'd love to hear maybe if you were watching it that day. I want to know what anything that I missed, or anything like that. Am I missing some information? Because I probably am. I think a lot of people are. I think the only people that know exactly what happened in that house, chronological order, all the events, are production and the people, the players, all the 8 people that are in the house, and production. I think the only people that know exactly what happened, well, probably not even all 8 people in the house, probably just not even everybody, probably just production, probably know what happened, and they're never going to spill the beans because it'll make them look bad. So, but that's going to do it. That's just a little more serious topic to talk about. I don't like talking about political stuff and other kind of stuff, but in this situation, it kind of has to be brought up, and we'll move on from here. So hopefully the season finishes on a good note. We have about 20. You said 20. Okay, so I think it's coming up on the 3rd. So I think you got 3 weeks from tomorrow. So that'd be the 27th. No, 25th. That the season ends. That's Sunday. So probably get end of September. End of September will be at latest the next time I talk about Big Brother. When the season's over, I'll do a full season review week by week. I'll analyze some of the players. I'll analyze if I thought it was a deserving winner. But if anything else happens, there is another double eviction coming up next week. So maybe something else will happen there. Maybe we'll see some big fights. Maybe we'll see some turning points in the game. Honestly, we'll just have to see what happens. So, thank you guys for watching this. If you got any thoughts you want to put it in the comments. I might read them, I might not, depending on how I feel. But you know what? Have a good time. So, until next time, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.